Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abbaim. Today is the 12th day of Teves, but tonight already is the 13th of Teves. So I want to take the opportunity to share with you a little bit about a very elevated and righteous personality. His name was Rabbi Yitzchak HaKohen Huberman, known as the Ben La'ashri. The Ben La'ashri, or the Tzaddik of Ra'anana. Maybe you've heard me speak about him over the last couple of years. He wrote a sefer called Ben La'ashri. The reason is, his name was Yitzchak ben Rav Asher Anshal. And Rabbi Yitzchak HaKohen Huberman, who is a great tzaddik, was never blessed with children. And his sefer, Ben La'ashri, was, so to speak, he considered his progeny. And what you have over here is something called Birchas HaTzadik. Birchas HaTzadik is, we try to collect. You see, the Ben La'ashri, we have it in the bookshelf in the shul. The Ben La'ashri is a multi-volume work, Al HaTorah and the Mayadim, and it's many of the pieces are difficult to understand. Many of them are Kabbalistic, many of them have very intricate cheshbonos. So if somebody were to open up the Ben La'ashri, they may feel a little bit overwhelmed. By the way, today's breakfast is dedicated by Reb Reuven Levinson. The Zchus HaTzadik should be made for him and his mishpacha. But this 3-volume set, you would open it up, you might feel, okay, this is lamala me hasagasenu, above our pay grade, as they say. And what I did was, b'siyata d'shmaya, collected the pieces in the Ben La'ashri that are more user-friendly, so that people could say over. Now, why is it important for people to say over? If you open up your booklet, I'm going to share with you a few of the things that the Tzaddik of Ra'anana writes about his Sfarim. First of all, in the Hakdama to Chelek Aleph, he writes, Hineni moiser oid maida. FYI, shehechladati, I decided, lehispalo b'li neder, b'chol yom, he decided to pray every day. Al kol eila sheya'ainu b'sefer. Anyone who looks into my sefer, he's going to pray for you. V'yagidu b'shmi divrei Torah. Anyone who says over my Torah in my name, la'acherim. Now, a lot of people say over other people's divrei Torah. That's not the point here. That's not going to do it. You need to say it over in his name. And he'll pray for you, sheyivashu mikol tzara, that you'll be saved from any distress, shetzrichem Yeshua, ba'olam hazeh u'ba'olam haba. Now that's a good havtacha. In our time, the Zera Shimshon, after hundreds of years, became popular because they found in his Hakdama that if you learn his Sefer, good stuff's going to happen. So here you have a tzaddik who lived not so long ago. We'll learn a little bit about him. He writes, anyone who learns his Divrei Torah, he commits himself to daven for you, to save you from any tzara in this world or in the next world. He also writes, Segula gedoyla bebayis l'chal advarim. It's a big skula to have the Sefer in your house. He also wrote in Hakdama to Shemois, he says, V'chein asayim b'tfila k'tzara, shekol haloimed b'sifri, anyone who learns this book, yizgel yira shamayim, will be zoicha to have fear of God, v'hatzlacha b'chol toiv, b'zeh uvaba. Now the reason why I'm holding Reb Asher Hertzberg hostage over here for a few minutes is because I wanted him to hear that he was a Talmud of the Imrei Emes, and I believe the Beis Yisrael would go to the Ben La'ashri lived in a hut in Ra'anana, and the Beis Yisrael would go to watch his tzidkus. So he was very attached to Ger. And I want to tell you a few things, miraculous things that happened in our time. And I'm proud to say that at least I was able to see it with my own eyes. Okay, so I started giving a shiur maybe about 5 years ago for the Ben La'ashri. And the OU has this program called All Parsha. You have All Parsha, they have it on the Gemara, they have on the Daf, they're now in Yerushalmi, and they had Al HaTorah. So they wanted someone to give a shiur on the Ramban and the Baal HaTurim. So I was in contact with them, and we came to the following agreement. I'm going to give the shiur on the Ramban every week, and the Baal HaTurim, but I said I also want to give a shiur on the Ben La'ashri. So Ben La'ashri, who is that? I never heard of it. I don't know anyone who ever heard of it. They said, listen, I said, trust me, I want to give the shiur on the Ben La'ashri. I'll do the Ramban, I'll do the Baal HaTurim, I also want to do the Ben La'ashri. Fine, so I started. Now my idea was that if I publicize the Ben La'ashri, then people will take advantage of this skula. And now you say, Glatstein, you're not a skula guy. I'm not. This is not what I'm doing. I'm not doing it for the skula. I can tell you I have a personal connection with the Ben Lashri. I figured if I give the shiur online, people will find out about it, people will learn about it, and maybe one day we'll put together a collection of his Divrei Torah in Lashon Kodesh, and if enough people will know about it, maybe even ArtScroll will translate it into English. That was the plan, okay? So we did that about 5 years ago. And all the while, there was a Isha Chashuva who contacted me about the project Ben Lashri. She even sent in a little bit to support. Okay. I'm looking at her last name. Last name is Kushelevsky. Kushelevsky. Everybody knows today the great miracle that happened with the Rosh Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, Tzvi Kushelevsky. He was a Rosh Yeshiva. He learned by the Brisker Rav, okay? He learned with Rabbi Malin, I believe. He was 88 years old. He had his first child at 88 years old, okay? Now this, if I would have told you it happened 500 years ago, you would have said, okay, we don't know about the records in Krakow or in who knows where. We can't verify the records. You know, like when the Teimanim came to Israel in 1949, they asked them how old they were. They said they were 170 years old. Where's your birth certificate? You know, they said Naphtali, we'll send Naphtali to Mitzrayim to go find it, you know. There was no way to verify it. This is a story that happened in our time this year. A Rosh Yeshiva is 88 years old. He had a baby. Turns out, the Rebbetzin was listening to the Shiurim on the Ben Lashri. True story. She gave him the sheets. The Rosh Yeshiva took it so seriously that this haftacha, that if anyone says over the Divrei Torah, he'll have Yeshuais, that, the Rosh Yeshiva is a big lamdin. It only has a din saying over if you say it over in front of 3 people. So he was makbid every single day to say over the Divrei Torah to 3 people. I said, really? I didn't know. At the bris, they published this Divrei Torah that the Rav Tzvi Kushelevsky would say over from the Ben Lashri. They gave out the bris. And he said this is one of the things he attributes the miracle to. So I said, okay, look, if I'm putting out a book on the Ben Lashri, I need a letter from Rav Tzvi Kushelevsky to say the story and the connection to Ben Lashri. Otherwise, people are going to rely on me. They're going to think, I'm going to be like the Teimani guy who says I'm 170 years old. I'm going to say, learn this book because of the miracle. I need a letter from Rav Tzvi Kushelevsky. So I sent immediately to the Rebbetzin, I need a letter from the Rav Tzvi Kushelevsky. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I said, I needed to say this, I needed to say that, I needed at least 5 times. And I brought it in to read to you today, because I don't want you to say, I'll tell you, I have it. Where? It's at home, it's in Mitzrayim, no, it's here. It's in this pamphlet. I want you to read the letter. And also, a miracle happened to Rav Tzvi on the yard side of the Ben Lashri. By the way, the Ben Lashri is buried in Har Menuchos. And I can tell you my family connection, but first let's hear this. Okay, this is Michta Bracha. It was written in Tammuz Tavshin Pei Dalet. Okay, so a couple months ago. He says about 4 years ago, the Rebbetzin. This is what the letter says. This is Rav Tzvi Kushelevsky writing. The Rebbetzin Shetichya brought me the Sefer of Rabbi Yitzchak Huberman. Why? Because he said he'll daven for anyone who will say over his Divrei Torah for any Yeshua. Now, somebody emailed me. Somebody said, one second. When the Ben Lashri said he's going to daven for you, did he mean only when he's alive or even afterwards? So I'm an honest guy. I said, I wrote back to him right away. I said, I have no idea. I can't tell you what that's. I didn't ask him. But all I know is I have a letter from Tzvi Kushelevsky that says that he considers that the promise of the tzaddik continues even after his demise, because he wrote it in the right. He says the Rebbetzin told me the tzaddik propens v'davar pashur bar sheyesh kayach rav l'tfilo shalai. So I'll ask you a kasha, but the tzaddik's not around, so it must be what Tzvi Kushelevsky held. It's still in effect, yeah. Uvemiyuchal inyan zar shakayim, especially it's effective for children. Now, umilvadho inyan hagadol, besides for the skula, says Rav Tzvi. I said, forget the skula. These are beautiful divrei Torah. That this mechaber knows how to explain the Torah with great amkos. Therefore, kol yoim. Now this is not a man who does skulas. He's learning shas and poskim. Every single day, I picked a shtickle Torah. Look at this. V'karasi l'shloisha anoshim. I read it to 3 people. V'amarti lohem divrei Torah mechaber. V'hem nenu harbim. They were very nene. Besides that, now, I'll tell you a personal story. I was at the kever of the Ben La'ashri. And I go to the kever, and I saw my parsha sheet there. How in the world did my parsha sheet get there? Reb Tzvi brought it there on the yard side, and he left it there by accident. Ma'aseh Shahaya. Ma'aseh Shahaya. Okay? Amarti divrei Torah shemachal chol talmidei hayeshiva akdosha. Reb Tzvi says, I said over divrei Torah on the yard side to all the talmidim. Va'ani olisi l'tziyunai. I went up to Sion. Va'asaper davar me'inyan. I want to tell you a story. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Originally, when Tzvi sent me the letter, the story wasn't there. I said, I need the story in there. So they had to reconvene. It's a whole process, by the way. There's a koisev and a madfis and a sent it back. Here's the story. The first time I went to the Ben La'ashri's kever, haya kishayarad geshem chazar karv l'shkia. It was pouring rain, and it was almost the end of the day. V'higati lahar hamnuchais. I didn't find anyone who I could ask where this kever is. Now I'll just tell you between you and me, I'm going to tell you how to get there. When you go into Har Menuchais, you go into the main entrance, you look for a little blue boxed painted writing. It says Hatzadik Meranana. You make a right and you follow that blue writing. Every couple of feet there's like this blue Hatzadik Meranana. It tells you where to go. So you go right, make a left, down, you go down the steps. He has his own oil. Okay. Now what's interesting, I'll tell you a different time. He has an oil, yeah? For 30 years, it was only him in the oil. The last time I went, there's somebody else got into the oil. Okay, a different story. He says, he was about to miss being at the kever of the Ben La'ashri on the yard site. Aval berega ha'achroin, the last moment, lefnei shkia, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shach elai tzaddik, Hashem sent me a tzaddik shaloi haya rogil histoivev sham, who didn't usually, walk around there. And in the pouring rain, he showed me the Tzion. Because I didn't have Yush, Hashem sent me the Yeshua. He says, "V'darko shal mechaber ala Torah hu shekasav divrei Torah al derech pardes." He says the derech of the Ben La'ashri is to explain the Torah pshat, remez, drush, and soid. Sometimes pshat, sometimes remez, sometimes drush, and sometimes soid. Therefore, if you don't really know Kabbalah, it's very hard to explain it. And then here's where the plug for we come in. And he says, so therefore it's a good idea to collect the Divrei Torah. He writes a lot of nice things about me, but I'm not going to read them to you because I told him what to write. So I'm going to read it to you. I gave him I fed it to him, So anyway, fine. But he went along with it, So. Then the next paragraphs he says, you need to know that all the scholists in the world cannot help unless you're mamin b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you're not misyayish from being helped. Okay, so if a person has a tzara, no skula is going to work. You have to have emunah, and you can never give up hope. And a person has to say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look, this is what he writes. V'tzarech ha'adam lo yimar l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, mi kivan sha'ata av harachaman. Rebbeinu Shem, you're our merciful Father. You want me to be happy. I ask of you, please bring me to the chamber of mercy, that no sin enters this chamber. Please give me what I need. You hear this? This is Rabbi Kushelevsky saying, if you need something, here's the formula. There's Oyam V'Naira, no? He says, if somebody needs something, person has to say, Hashem, you're my merciful Father. You want me to be happy. I ask you, please bring me into the Heichal of Rachamim, where no sin enters. Give me what I need. Uchsha'adam espalel umamin b'Hashem ve'enoi misya'ish zoicha liyeshua. Shkoyach. And then he gives me a bracha. But I didn't feed that. I didn't tell him he has to give me a bracha, but he did it anyway, which is very nice. And okay, now I'm going to tell you a personal miracle, the rest of the story. So I told you I wanted to give the shir so that maybe people would find out about the school of the tzaddik, and then maybe one day it would be translated. So when I went into ArtScroll, I was telling them the story, and they're looking at me. Come on, really? That's the miracle of Rabbi Kushelevsky, the Ben Lashri? Nobody ever heard that it had anything to do with the Ben Lashri. They said, actually, as we speak, coming out of the conveyor belt is the new ArtScroll book called Miracle Baby. You saw that book? You saw the book Miracle Baby?
Yeah,
Miracle Baby. I want you to know, first, I went to Miracle Baby, and I turned to the back, and there's a beautiful picture of the baby, and I had that picture. The Rebbetzin already sent me the picture. Right behind the baby, in the background. Bring me the Rabbi Meir Sefer. Look in the ArtScroll, is the baby and Gold of MMH Sefer. Okay? On the cover. Okay? So they said, wow, this book just came out. So I go to the book, they take me to the factory, go to the book, I open the book. Page 1 that I opened to, thank you. Right, so the picture on the back of the ArtScroll book is a baby with Gold of MMH. Open the book. The Rabbi Kushelevsky learned the Zera Shimshine. Page 2, Rabbi Kushelevsky learned Ben La'ashri. So okay, what do you have to do with it? The Rebbetzin said she started listening to the Shiurim over here in Kilas Tfilas Mordechai about the Ben La'ashri. And she heard about the Ben Lashri from Glatstein, so she gave it to Rabbi Kushelevsky, and she forced him to learn his Divrei Torah. So that was a clincher. So ArtScroll said, okay, they agreed that they're going to be, that would be the next project, Be'ezus Hashem. Okay, so that's the story. So now what am I getting at? What I'm getting at tonight is the yard side. If anybody wants to be mishtatef with the projects of the Ben Lashri, today is a very good opportunity. If anybody wants to participate in supporting this project, Tavay Aleichem Bracha. Okay, so that's, you could contact us on our site, and I want to tell you the next part of the history of the Ben Lashri. So I have the zechus now to be working on a work called the Ben Lashri, selected pieces of an individual by the name of the Tzaddik of Ranana, who gives an amazing promise that anyone who says over his Torah will be saved from any difficulties in this world and the next. And many people have began to take advantage of this skula, and amazingly it's been brought to my attention that the great Rosh Hashiva in Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Tzvi Kushelevsky, became very attached to the svarim of the Ben Lashri. He said over the Chidushim of the Ben Lashri daily in front of 3 people, and Baruch Hashem, Hashem blessed him with an amazing shefa, an amazing Yeshua, and at the bris he even shared some of the Chidushim that he had saying over from the Ben Lashri. So this is something that Klal Yisrael is taking advantage of the amazing bracha of this tzaddik, and Be'ezus Hashem, soon to be in English, b'siyata d'shmaya. I just finished speaking about the Ben Lashri and the amazing miracle of the miracle baby. So I came into ArtScroll warehouse, I opened up the book, and I'm very touched to see that indeed the Rebbetzin credits the Shiurim on the topic to the Shiurim that we gave, and she acquired the Svarim so Rav Tzvi could start giving Shiurim on them. And Rav Tzvi made a point not just to learn his Torah, but to teach it to 3 Talmidim. It's in the book. It's in the book. So, Be'ez Hashem, it should be zechus that we should be able to bring it into English for the English-speaking audience.